and we're going to be making a temporary surface so that we can map what our finished geometry is going to be to these 2D polygons. So we want to go to the prospector, and we got a little bit of setup work to do. We need a couple of sites. We want a site called proposed for our finished stuff, and hopefully we'll get there or close to it. And we really don't care about the numbering, but we do want to make sure that we're using geometry here. And oops, did I cancel? And do a refresh. Yes, I did cancel. So I want one called proposed, and say OK. And I need another new site called working. And here in this one, we're going to store pieces that we can later move into the proposed one so we can test and try out things. And we're going to hit apply. So now we have two sites, and grading groups separate gradings into little collections, and sites separate grading groups, so they won't talk to each other. If it's inside the grading group, the gradings talk to one another. If it's inside the same site, they talk to one another. So this ability to subcategorize helps us a lot in dealing with the complexity, as we pointed out in the outline. So in working, we want to make a couple of new grading groups. It'll name them automatically, but we like to name them here. And we're going to make one called Northwest Build Pad. That works pretty easily. And we're going to make sure that automatic surface creation is not on. If you feed the beast bad things, right, bad things can happen, like you'll blow up more often. So until you make sure your geometry works, you don't want to typically, inside the grading groups, turn on automatic surface creation as a tool. So we made that group. We could describe why we're making it. Its name in this case happens to describe it well enough for me and purposes of our demo. But as you get lots and lots of these can be helpful to follow your own work and certainly the works of others. Those description keys are important. Fields are important. And we need another one. And pretty much this is going to be our temporary surface. So we'll just call it the Northwest surface. And maybe we'll make it a little more descriptive here. Nice thing here is I can use long, complex names. And we're going to leave that surface creation off and say OK. So I have two building groups, two grading groups created. And when I use the grading tool, which will happen in a minute or two, you'll see I'll make use of those. I have a couple other settings that I want to make sure are set up. So one of the things you want to do in your templates is make sure that you get the style choices appropriate to the kind of work you're doing. And we're going to use this general grading feature line style. And for our grading styles, we are going to use a basic display of what they look like called lot grading. And if we're going to use cut and fill and we want to identify that quickly, you can use pattern styles here, and we're just picking simple fixed schemes, so they'll draw the lines and the little triangles to show us visually right away where things are. So this idea of settings is very, very important in your templates and very, very important in your production work. You always want to go and check where the settings are, make sure you're going to get what you want, because Civil 3D does a lot all at once. And when we do that sort of thing, we want to make sure that we're set up in advance. Over here in multi-purpose styles, our feature styles are over here. You'll notice, however, that they do not have any default. Okay? So they're style driven and controlled by other objects inside Civil 3D. I have the feature line. Let me reduce my tool space a bit. And I have the feature line toolbar, which can be accessed by clicking anywhere where there's a toolbar and turning it on here. And I have the feature line toolbar turned on, and one can think of this as the LDT 3D polylines commands on steroids. And we're going to create a new feature line. There's, notice, a convert from object. So if you had 3D polylines in your project, you've done most of the project in LDT, and you want to see how it's going to work in Civil 3D, you can literally copy paste those into drawings, right, and convert them into feature lines. The reason we want to use a feature line, one has a display wrapper that allows us to change what it looks like, but more importantly, it talks to the grading groups. And you'll see that feature lines got to go to a site. So feature lines, that's fundamental, as we said, that divide and conquer. And you'll see from our settings that we're getting a style choice here. We could pick another one for the one we're creating. What layer this stuff is being drawn on is once again driven by a setting. I'd like to change that for the moment and pick a different layer, since I want it to be on a topo layer. And I just use my keys to speed down into the list, and we're going to put it on the topo grade layer instead of on a road layer, which happens to be my current default. If I had picked something, I would have some options here to do some weeding, to assign elevations to it, and we'll see that in a bit. Right now we're making a raw one, and we're going to start, and we're just going to pick this location about here, and it says what elevation. So I can manually set the elevation, but once again got the wonderful hit S, and there's my elevation from my existing surface, and that's exactly what I want. And we'll zoom and pan down to the other corner, and I'm going to pick a little bit out this way, pick another point, and by default it would give me a grade and a slope, and you can see, and this is very much like LDT, so it shouldn't be change your mind too much that way. And I want a surface elevation at that location, so I type SU, and we'll pick that elevation. And I could continue to draw my feature line, but I only want a 2-point feature line to drive my surface. So I have the 2 points. You could carefully move them around, make sure that you are snapping to surface triangles, for example, and things like that if you want to move elevations. This is an editable object, and it has slope, so if I wanted to change the slope, change the elevation, I can actually edit those right there. And so, for example, up here, I really like that to be at 225, and get rid of these hundredths, and we'll just make that a 0.5. And I can change the slope, edit it, move its location, and do all that sort of thing inside a spreadsheet-like interface. I can also edit it with quick elevation edit, but we're going to try to show that in a little bit later here. So